In a grim future, corporations build factories that churn out zombies to feed society's darkest desires. A journalist begins investigating a troubling incident at the world-famous luxury complex called The Resort. The situation is so dire that authorities are debating whether to relaunch the notorious Brimstone Protocol. 10 years earlier, the Chroma Syndrome virus swept across nations, infecting billions. But the true nightmare wasn't the sickness, it was what followed. Victims first died from the disease, only to rise again as mindless, ravenous corpses. Humanity was dragged into a brutal war against the undead. When pharmaceutical giant Pfizer refused to pursue a cure, governments turned to Brimstone, waves of merciless bombings to wipe out infected regions. Today, the zombie menace is nearly eradicated. The last of the creatures have been corralled on a secluded Pacific island. Billionaire Valerie Wilton converted that island into a high-end hunting ground, marketed as an exclusive retreat where wealthy thrill-seekers could kill zombies for fun. Around its borders, a refugee camp survives on charity from Valerie's non-profit Hope for You, which she claims helps victims of the war. But as the world begins to heal, rumors of a new outbreak cast a dark shadow. Even this fortress-like island isn't as secure as it once seemed. Suddenly, warplanes roar overhead, passing so low that the reporter feels the ground shake. Something catastrophic is unfolding on that island. Rewind 10 days earlier in London. Melanie, a young woman still scarred by the zombie war, leaves her support group and heads home. She has battled PTSD ever since her father was killed during the outbreak. Despite years of medication and therapy, the grief hasn't faded. As a last effort to heal, she begs her husband, Lewis, to take her to the resort. That night, restless and shaken, she asks him what it feels like to face zombies. He brushes it off, likening it to exterminating pests. Later, she rewatches an old recording from her father, who urges her to stay strong and fight for her future. The next day, the couple flies to the island's airbase. Other guests include teenage gamers Jack and Alfie, who won their trip through a contest, Sadie, a heartbroken bride abandoned at the altar, and Archer, a hardened veteran. While waiting in the lounge, Melanie notices a refugee girl gripping a toy tightly behind a chain-link fence. She tries to approach, but the child is quickly pulled away by her mother, leaving Melanie unsettled. Soon after, the visitors board a sleek speedboat to the resort, the atmosphere tense and foreboding. Before their first hunt, everyone attends a weapons briefing. Melanie skips the lesson. Lewis, a former soldier, has already trained her. That evening, guests gather for dinner where Valerie Wilton herself delivers a speech, painting the resort as a place of healing. Meanwhile, Sadie secretly hacks into the security hub, copying data onto a flash drive. Archer notices her but says nothing. Valerie then shocks her audience by unveiling a chained zombie woman on stage, giving them a preview of tomorrow's hunt. Later that night, the engineers detect a serious breach in the resort's network. Terrified of angering Valerie, they try to handle it quietly, but the virus spreading through their system proves devastating. The following morning, Melanie and the others are escorted beyond the gates into the hunting grounds. As the security team struggles with gate malfunctions, the group reaches a raised observation deck. Below, hundreds of zombies shuffle in the dirt. Guests prepare their weapons nervously. Sadie freezes, unable to fire, while Archer displays lethal precision, dropping zombies one after another. Lewis encourages Melanie to try, but when she locks eyes with a zombie woman, she can't bring herself to pull the trigger. That night, the group camps in the wilderness. Melanie confesses to Lewis that she regrets spending so much money on an experience she finds unbearable. Archer quietly questions Sadie's reasons for coming, and she admits the trip was bought by her ex-fiancé. Back at the resort, things spiral out of control. The virus disables the entire security grid. Automated restraints fail, unleashing zombies that had been caged for sport. Chaos erupts as tourists are mauled and staff are overwhelmed. When the creatures overrun the control center, Valerie abandons her team, fleeing in panic. With the hub lost, the Brimstone countdown automatically begins. In a matter of hours, the entire island will be bombed. Meanwhile, Melanie's group remains unaware of the outbreak. Late at night, while sitting by the campfire, she spots a zombie staggering toward them. She screams for help, urging Sadie to shoot, but Sadie freezes. Just as the creature lunges, Archer saves them with a clean shot. Their guide insists this has never happened. Zombies were never supposed to reach camp. He turns on the truck's lights, and what they see chills them to the bone. A massive horde advancing straight toward them. The men open fire as Melanie and Sadie dive for cover, narrowly escaping as the undead swarm closer. The guide leaps into the vehicle and desperately tries to radio for help, but the only reply is a chilling automated message: Brimstone Protocol engaged. The island will be annihilated in a matter of hours. With the horde closing in, the survivors scramble onto the roof of the truck, but in the panic, young Alfie slips. A zombie grabs hold, sinking its teeth into him before he can react. Knowing there's no saving the boy, Lewis takes a deep breath and delivers 2 merciless shots, ending Alfie and the creature in an instant. Archer eventually orders everyone to stop firing. The nearby swarm has been cleared, but the night is far from over. With no safe place to run, the group spends the rest of the night huddled together on the vehicle roof, listening to the distant groans of the undead. By sunrise, the guide warns them the brimstone countdown is nearly complete. Once it finishes, the island will be firebombed to wipe out every trace of infection. He admits there had been evacuation plans, but their transport is gone. Escape on foot is hopeless. Still, Archer refuses to die waiting. He insists they cut through the island's interior to find another way out. Their journey quickly turns grim. Archer halts the group after hearing movement. A zombie suddenly lunges at Jack, but the guide shoots it down just in time, then freezes when he realizes the corpse was once his co-worker. They push on until they reach a mangled safari truck smashed against a fence. Crawling through the wreckage, they barely make it to the other side before another horde descends. During the firefight, one zombie nearly strangles Melanie, but Sadi, finding her courage at last, guns it down and pulls Melanie free. Just as they think they're safe, a hidden zombie ambushes the guide and tears into him. With grim precision, Lewis puts him down, leaving the survivors rattled and leaderless. In the distance, they spot a communications tower, their last hope. But before moving, Archer corners Sadi, demanding she reveal what she did in the control room. Under pressure, she confesses. She's part of an activist group that campaigns for zombie rights, exposing the cruelty of the resort's hunts. Her mission was to steal evidence from the system, but when she plugged in her flash drive, it secretly unleashed the virus that destroyed the resort's defenses. Horrified, she realizes she was used and betrayed. While the others give her cold stares, only Melanie offers comfort, vowing not to abandon her. To reach the tower, they must pass through a cluster of ruined buildings reeking of blood and rot. Splitting up to stay unnoticed, Archer, Melanie, and Lewis take one path while Jack and Sadie go another. Archer's group escapes safely, but Jack and Sadie are ambushed. Sadie is bitten while defending Jack, and in her last moments she gives him the flash drive and begs him to run. Seconds later, she's ripped apart. Now with just under an hour before Brimstone, Jack reunites with Archer's team, only to be bitten himself after a caged zombie drops from above. Archer executes him quickly, and the remaining 3 press on, their numbers dwindling, but the real horror awaits. They stumble into what appears to be a refugee settlement run by Valerie Wilton's foundation. In a sickening revelation, they realize the charity was a cover. Refugees were brought here not for protection, but to be turned into zombies, fueling the resort's gruesome business. Out of the shadows steps the same little girl Melanie saw at the airport, now undead. Her hiss draws out dozens of infected refugees. The group flees, slamming a heavy door behind them. As zombies pound on it, Melanie yells for Lewis's help, but he grabs a hanging chain and climbs upward, abandoning them. Archer forces Melanie to follow, sacrificing himself by holding back the horde. Melanie finds herself alone in the lobby, crawling with the undead. She arms herself and tries to sneak through when Lewis reappears, apologizing for leaving her. But her relief turns to dread. She notices the bite on his arm. She points her gun at him, trembling, but can't pull the trigger. Instead, she hands him the weapon and tells him to decide his own fate. Moments later, another wave of zombies storms the lobby. Melanie bolts, fighting her way through until Valerie Wilton suddenly drags her into an office. Valerie insists the emergency exit is their only way out, with mere minutes before the island is obliterated. But Melanie, enraged, accuses her of turning refugees into monsters and profiting from their misery. Valerie snaps, wrestling for the gun. It clatters to the floor, but before either can grab it, a horde breaks in and tears Valerie apart. Melanie barely escapes the office, sprinting through the collapsing resort as zombies close in behind her. As Melanie races through the chaos, the Brimstone countdown hits 0. Explosions rip across the island as fighter jets unleash their payload. With no other choice, she throws herself into the ocean, narrowly escaping the inferno consuming everything behind her. Hours later, rescue helicopters sweep the area. Exhausted and barely clinging to life, Melanie is pulled from the water and flown back to safety. Not long after, her testimony about Valerie Wilton's horrific operations spreads worldwide. Though Melanie never appears on camera, her recorded words echo across every news station. She explains that while humanity may have defeated the zombies a decade ago, it also lost something essential, its own compassion. She warns that the nightmare is far from over, hinting at the possibility of another war waiting just around the corner. Meanwhile, Archer, somehow having survived the ordeal, sits alone in a bar, watching Melanie's message play on television. Then, during a live news broadcast from the devastated island, a chilling twist unfolds. Out of the surf, zombies begin staggering ashore. Against all odds, some survive the bombing, proving the infection isn't gone. The next outbreak may be closer than anyone realizes. So what do you think? In a world like this, who's the real monster? The zombies or the people who exploit disaster for their own gain? Could greed itself be more dangerous than the undead? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.